I just started recording, and yeah, Philip, do you want to start?
All right. Hello, everyone. Very good afternoon, good evening, depending on from where you're joining. I'm joining from Austin, so it's almost an evening for me. Russell is joining from Phoenix. He's in afternoon. So, hello, welcome everyone to our new session on the South California chapter. Today, we are going to talk about AI Center, um, and we are going to specifically focus on how we can bring our own machine learning model into AI Center. So, little bit about our chapter. If you have been uh, attending our sessions before, you're very much aware of it. But if you're joining for the first time, South California chapter for UiPath is a community-driven chapter. This is we do conduct mostly online events, but there are some offline events as well in plan that we will set up at some point of time. Primarily, the purpose of this chapter is to share experiences in automation, RPA, and also specifically around UiPath platform. We want to learn about different challenges, different business um, issues that you would be able to um, resolve using UiPath platform, and not just to solve a problem, but also scale and build an enterprise solution. These solution and can be part of a project or separate business utility that you want to build, or even if you just want to expand upon some business idea, and it can be altogether a new business venture for that matter. So myself, Pradeep Shukla, I work for Paton as chief technologist. I'm a UiPath MVP for 2002 and 2003 as well. I have with me Russell. Hello, Russell. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, I'm Russell Alfeche. I'm one of the organizer for this chapter, and we also do other sessions on other state chapters here in the U.S. And yeah, I'll be one of the speakers. The second half of this will be the demo, and I'm currently the RPA technology leader for Cubotica.
Thanks, Russell, for that. Diana is the community manager from UiPath. She's not here with us today. So it will be myself and Russell who will be driving this particular session, and we will go through uh, a little bit of introduction on AI Center, and also afterwards we'll talk about a specific use case that Russell is going to present a demo. While we are doing this presentation, please feel free to update your questions in the chat, and we will get to them as we are progressing through the session. All right, let's jump in. All right, so this is kind of a high level overview of AI Center itself. So, what is an AI Center? I'm not sure if everyone in attendance have used UiPath platform, but if you are here, I'm sure you're aware of what UiPath platform is. And AI Center is one of the services out of UiPath um, ecosystem that actually helps you host machine learning models. What does that mean? Today, if you look at different platforms and technology, if you're using a cloud platform, right? So different platforms have model hosting capabilities. Besides that, you can even use models hosted on independent servers as well, right? Like Hugging Face or some other platform providers for that matter. So similar to that, UiPath has this service, AI Center, where you can introduce where you can actually go and find some machine learning models that are pre-built. So there are three ways you can create this, right? So you choose a model. What does that mean? That UiPath already has a list of pre-built models in their platform, so you can pick up one of those individual models have details in terms of what is the logic that particular model performs, how they have been built, and these models are pretty well tested. They are not ad hoc models, so most of the models you see either they are coming from Facebook research, Microsoft research. Uh, so all in all, they're really vetted machine learning models, and they have already gone through the regression through UiPath, right? Before they have made them available as a model for you to choose. The second option is bringing your own model, which is our topic for today, where we can bring our own model that we may have created outside of UiPath ecosystem. So something you may have created using Python, you have built a model which eventually you're accessing other libraries and you have a model to predict something. Um, so you can bring that into UiPath Action Center, UI AI Center, and leverage those in your automation. Um, and the third one is pick a model, which is similar to like a pre-built model option, but these are not from UiPath. These are from partner organization, so they can be picked up from the marketplace. You can take one of those models and bring them in AI Center for automation use cases. So what happens once we make a choice? Once we make a choice that, okay, I want to go with a certain set of model, right? So let's say, for example, here, I'll take an example of sentiment analysis, right? So you want to use a model to identify a sentiment for certain post. Uh, you can please go mute if you're not talking, please.
I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So once we have selected the model, the next step is how we consume it, right? So for consuming it, we have to create that model, turn into an ML skill. So it's kind of a packaged version of that model where it has already the trained data available to it, and now it's ready to make predictions. Third step is where we take that ML skill that we have built at this stage. Now we are what we are going to do in UiPath Studio, where we are creating automations. We are going to reference that ML skill, and that's how you incorporate your ML skill that you have created through this step. Okay, so I hope that gives you a brief overview in terms of how to set up your machine learning model, create a skill, and then be able to consume that skill. All right. So next, what we are going to talk about here in general, like what different kind of models are available. So besides AI Center, UiPath has another feature, or one of the most popular features, UiPath Document Understanding. So document understanding is kind of is one of the top most solutions out there for intelligent document processing. As you can understand by looking at these examples where we're talking about invoices, passports, utility bills, receipts, W2, W9, those are standardized formats, and then obviously different other templates out there. So what this provides, document understanding, it provides a way for us to be able to digitize, classify, and extract uh, text data from a document, right? So you have an invoice, you really don't want, if you want to process thousands and thousands of invoices, right? You don't want, um, in a legacy world, it has been done manually, right? Someone has to go through each of those, process them. But that's where document understanding comes in. Once we convert those documents into a digital format using this platform, we can actually very easily extract that data out of it. And that's where machine learning comes in, because some of these documents may have standard format, but other documents may have a lot of variations to it. That's where having a standardized model may not work effectively. So a machine learning model can really process those efficiently. In addition to that, document understanding models, there are other areas of uh, interest would be language and image analysis, where you can use classification or named entity recognition. Um, And in classification, you can have either simple English language classification, or you can have multi-language classification automation that can help you. And leveraging machine learning model can expedite your work, because what we are trying to do here, right? We are trying to democratize consumption of machine learning models, right? So we don't expect the end developer to be actually building those models themselves, but they can use one of the models that's already pre-built into the platform and be able to use them for their business purpose. Now, the last but not the least here would be open source models. So, open source models can be any of these, right? You can even go find out W2 open source models. You'll find language translation models. You can find sentiment analysis, image classification models, text summarization models. And if you have not explored, I think in off late, I have been spending a lot of my time when I'm exploring open source model. Hugging Face is a great platform, so you can always use that for exploration. Kaggle is another one of the platforms where you can go find some of that um, to experiment and explore further. All right, so let's talk about a few of the real world use cases for AI Center. So where AI Center is being right now used, so there are different machine learning platforms out there, but we'll talk about um, only the businesses where UiPath implementations have been done. So there have been implementations in financial sector, where few banks, you can see leading Asian bank and a leading largest mutual fund bank in Australia, right? So finance is definitely one of the areas where RPA or automation in general has the most wider adoption in a way, because that really expedites their day-to-day work. In addition to that, I would say IT services is another area where automation really shines in any organization, even in my organization for that matter. IT is one of the areas, even after all that IT services, IT platforms, right? Automation still has scope to improve your process. There are a few other businesses out there, whether it's a media firm in Japan, some professional services agencies, leading food and beverage company, which is primarily a retail, right, where they have used, in, yeah, so they are primarily using here AI Center for reading labels for the food items that are on the shelves, in order for them to identify the reorder level for a particular item whenever they have to reorder it or reorganize it. So these are some of the real challenging use cases. Most of the areas where I am interested primarily is financial banking system, where AI Center is in use. Even IT services is one of the other areas where I would be interested to learn more about it. Okay, so let's talk about some of the key differentiators, how AI Center is different from any other platform for that matter, where you can host your machine learning model. So AI Center provides you an option for bringing your own model, which we'll talk about today, how you can bring your model, and how you can, if you want to, you can train it. You can have multiple training pipelines run on them, and then use it, or you can just use as is, right? Obviously, UiPath has a very thriving marketplace for components and also for machine learning models, which are being supported by UiPath and also UiPath partners. Multiple deployment options, which talks about where we can deploy machine learning models directly in your automation, or you can deploy them through document understanding, or even some of the machine learning models can be directly deployed as an API, so you can access those through an API. Continuously improve models with retraining, we already covered that. Human validation is another interesting aspect. This is where it actually ties to the document understanding, what we talked about, that when we process a particular document through automation, and whether it's backed by machine learning model or it's backed by an already available model that document understanding supports it, you have always have an option to perform a human validation where you can reassess and reevaluate the outcome. And usually most of the customers, that's how they start with more frequent evaluation. Slowly, as the model becomes mature and also the customer has more confidence in it, they will slowly reduce that reevaluation cycle and let the automations run on its own, leading them to save time and improve efficiency. Last but not the least is deep integration. So integration, in a way, it provides that UiPath has integration services, uh, that actually lets you connect to, I would say, I don't remember the last count. I believe last I remember there were like 150 different platforms. The connector was available for those platforms to connect, and that number keeps growing. I don't remember the latest number, but that's a lot. Even 150 different application platforms to connect to through UiPath um, is fabulous, and I have explored more some of them as well as part of my work or as part of exploration itself, where we can connect vice versa, whether it's from UiPath to the platform or platform to UiPath. Um, it's really fabulous when all those different platform services come together, where UiPath can work as a central host, moving data from one platform to another and then process them. All right, so that was a very high level overview of AI Center. And for today's session, we primarily want to focus on one of the key aspects of it, where we are going to talk about how to bring your own model to the AI Center. Um, the Russell will talk about what specific file and folder structure you need, because when you are bringing an external model, you have to follow certain guidelines. Those guidelines are laid out by UiPath. We'll post some links as well that you can refer to for later, to understand better, and what other requirements are required, if there are training required for the model, that will also, Russell is going to talk about. So with that being said, over to you, Russell.
Sure, Pradeep. Or do you want to cover the demo that you have? Or
No, go ahead, this one.
sure, sure. No worries. Let me share my
Yeah, I'll stop
screen.
now. Go ahead.
Yeah. Can I share my screen now? Entire screen. Okay. Okay. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, I can see your screen. Go ahead, please.
Sure. Thanks, Pradeep. So, and before I walk you through this demo and how it works under the hood, let me just show you quickly this solution that we built that applies across different functions, essentially, right? So the front end of this is a UiPath apps with integration with data service as the backend database. And the key component here, so this is, as you can see, this is a gallery-like view where you can see here the carousel where you have different videos. And if I play one of the videos, where the machine learning here is and the custom model here is, as you can see in this individual itself, right? So you can see an object detection model working and doing tracking for a specific use case. Let's say in this case, this is a baggage claim area in an airport, doing damage detection for objects. So this is, let's say, coming in as a feed, a 1 minute interval feed, and that feed um, is pushed into the machine learning model to detect the objects and then track each different objects. So that's one. And then you have other use cases here, like a public event. Let's say it tracks different the number of people in that particular event, and then yeah, this is this the app's interface here is just to show this in this particular gallery like view, but the key component here is the machine learning model being able to detect all these objects and people, and then count the and then do some tracking and counting, right? So, and there are a couple of models that's being used, um, both out of the box and um, a couple ones that are brought into AI Center as well. So, having said that, let me go through the deck and see what this use case is and how it works under the hood. So, so you have your in this solution you have your intake, process, and output, right? And as far as the intake process goes, so again, think about use cases around. So this is an actual use case that we did for a large airline in Southeast Asia, where their airport management want to capture the condition of the luggages that are in the carousel, right? And they would like to identify. So to help insurance as well, insurance claims and all those stuff around the security as well, right? Like luggage, lost luggage, in the around airport management and security, right? So intake can come from different sources of feeds, like in this case for airport, CCTV capture, as I said, 1 minute interval in the baggage claim area. Another use case would be for small businesses having their stock room where they have video capture as well, coming from the stock room, and see the inventory, what their current inventory are for their for making their product. Let's say a bakery, right? Do you have the flour? Do you have for the next week demand of bread? Do you have a sufficient ingredient to to cater to your business, right? And you also see public safety type of use cases where you have community CCTV. Let's say there's a large events where you can feed from the CCTV capture and then feed that into the model that we host in UiPath. And all of this can be a queue-based type of mechanism, as you can see here, which they have different queue. And this will trigger then the process. The main piece of this would be the process which uses the machine learning model that was trained. It is not available from out of the box in UiPath AI Center, but we specifically trained model using object detection, state-of-the-art object detection models like YOLO, right? For example, you only look once, which is they have a V8 as the latest version, right? So we trained this specifically for this type of use cases and host it within AI Center so that we can do custom object detection and even object segmentation. The difference between object detection and segmentation would be segmentation detects the actual shape of the object, while detection is bounding boxes. But both can be used for tracking type of use cases as well. So, and another model here that I use for this particular solution is image recognition, right? So from this image snapshots captured from the feeds going to the queue, there's an image captioning model which Pradeep mentioned. Hugging Face provides different transformer pipelines as well for image captioning, open source. But UiPath also provides that image analysis type of models that you can use for your related use cases. Right? So once the this model infers, so the again it's not only limited to image, but it can also be video captures, right? Although UiPath has their own out of the box or open source model in AI Center around object detection, it's mainly applicable for image only. You can only input image. So in this case, the requirement is to infer or detect from videos, just like what I showed you. In that case, I have to bring my own model because UiPath doesn't have a pre-trained model for that yet, whether it's open source, whether it's proprietary. So that's the the reason why we brought this model um, and created and deployed it in AI Center, right? So once the model infers the output, which is also a video, if you feed a video, the output will be a video. If you feed an image, output will be an image. It will deserialize that output, so it will come as a byte array, right? And then it will be converted back into its proper file type, and then uploaded to Google Drive. So the video that you saw earlier are videos uploaded into Google Drive using data service. There's a column in a data service that has the Google Drive links. Um, but again, those uploaded video comes from as an output from the model, and then again, it will create a data service record for that. So, and the output straightforward. This all these different items or thumbnails here are tied to a data service record, and the data service record has the link to the Google Drive where the video inferred video was uploaded. So you'll be able to use it again for this different type of use cases or for airport security and audit. As a store manager, you want to track the inventory and as soon as you need something or you're out of stock of something, it will be able to notify you and detect so you can buy more of those. And of course, community police sort of use case. So that said, let before I leave this the deck that I'm showing right here, I just wanna if there's two key takeaway for the demo, that be um, why would you want to use AI Center, let's say for your um, use case, right? First is environment setup for set up local machine or setting up your environment for doing machine learning projects would be complex and would require resources, right? And having to be able to abstract the complexity of those infrastructure that you need or deployment away from the developers would give you focus on operationalizing the workflow and reaping the benefits much more easily. So again, first takeaway is infrastructure, so you don't have to set up your own GPU based machine and all those intensive resource type of machines. And the second one is initially we would think that if you deploy in AI Center, it would have uh, latency with drawback. But if you can see here the comparison between a local center hosted model versus a local hosted model. So the local hosted model is below, and the AI center hosted model is above, right? Apparently, the latency is not an issue. In fact, this is a bit faster because the machines that UiPath provides are fit for the particular model that you'll be deploying, and it auto scales basically, right? So yeah, so this is a simple example of a prediction use case, image captioning use case, and this is how fast it is in 4 seconds in a center and in a local. Previously I used my local machine, which is not really for. for this kinds of projects, but then it's much lower basically. So um,
That's a very
that
good point, Russell, that you brought up in terms of why to use AI Center, right? And you also have option to use GPUs. That's also part of
right.
the offering itself. Now, there may be some questions regarding pricing and all. We are not covering that in this session specifically, but
Hmm.
if you have any questions, we'll definitely be able to answer that towards the end of it.
Absolutely. Thanks for the yeah. So now let's look at the workflow. So from the deck that I showed you earlier, the overview of the workflow. This is the actual UiPath automation workflow, which uses the ML skill, couple of ML skills that I trained. So basically, again, it fetches from the different queue, whether your queue feed video feeds from the airport, from the store. So it fetches from queue, and then this runs. This is the one that runs the object detection and tracking, right? I will deep dive more on this in a bit, and then it uses the caption generator to generate the title, and then it uploads to Google Drive, and the thumbnail and artifacts to the Google, and then updates data service. How data service looks like is so this is the data service entity that's being used, right? So the workflow uploads after uploading to Google Drive, it fills up basically a table that the apps is tied to. But again, that's not our. This is not our focus here. Our focus here is the how I brought this Python model using the custom object detection model into a center, right? And this is the main workflow for that. So um, and this uses this ML skill, right? This can call on the skills you've trained in a center. In this case, I have one for the default object detection, simple object detection. This is trained with a COCO dataset for YOLO. Again, I'm using YOLO V8, the latest iteration of YOLO, which is trained with COCO dataset common objects. Um, and let's try to with one example here. Hold on, let me just see if I have example inputs, and then so yeah, let's see this one, this luggage. So let's test first with the YOLO V8 default weights. What's the detected object here? So this is we'll use this as an input, and just run this by debug so we can see the output, and then we can dive through the code after running both of these models. So this is inferring, yeah, so was able to infer the image, feed it to the model, and then this is the output. So this output is from the Python code that I customized. So what's the predicted classes along with its frequency, meaning how frequent this object showed in that particular image. This is one, and predicted file byte array, which is the image itself, the content of the image that we can convert back into an image file. And then yeah, this is just how it's getting converted into back into a file. right? Because from the UiPath uh, inference server, right, it cannot really interact with your local file system. So it's outputting the byte array, so you can convert it back. Um, so the inferred image will then be written back into a file, and then here I'm just showing the how the file looks like now. So it infers it and detects it as a suitcase because I use the pre-trained weights from YOLO V8, and then that's that, and then it's done. Right now, I'm gonna show you the other the custom trained model using the same um, base model YOLO V8. In this case, I trained it with luggage conditions. So the model is has several classes. When I say classes, different types of objects that it can detect. While the while the this new model is only trained to do two classes, right? So when I say classes again, so yeah, this is an example. So these are different classes for the pre-trained model. This is trained with a COCO dataset. So I think around 100 plus objects or classes. And then when I retrained the the model, so this particular one that I also deployed, this is only trained with two classes. One is a damaged luggage, and number two is a good condition luggage. So if I run this with the same input, right, what you will see, the output is or would be different. The class output would be different this time. Instead of suitcase, it will now try to identify from your image what is if it's a damage. In this case, it's identified as damage or in a good condition in order to fit this particular use case. So now instead of suitcase, it says it inferred it as a damaged luggage, and yeah. So that's the different models that we customized and brought into AI Center in order to cater this particular use case. So now, how can we? How does this work, right? So on the slides that we showed earlier, so there are a couple of um, things that you need to make sure, right? And I think we can abbreviate this as FORT. And one is file or folder structure. Second, organizing the methods, how the classes look like. Third is requirements or dependency in the Python package. And probably if you want to do training capability, you can also add here, right? So this is how. So first is a file and folder structure, right? If you look at this, probably let's start with. If you look at this deployment, let's say the simple object detection. So at the minimum, you only need this. You only need to have a main Python file and a requirements file, right? So that's it. That's the one in the root folder, right? And you just have to package it when meaning you just have to zip it, and the zip file should be the same name as your root folder, right? So that's the file and folder structure that you need to keep in mind. So you can put any subfolders here as long as the main.py and requirements.txt is in the root folder, you're good. And the root this particular folder name is similar to the folder name of your zip file that you will upload eventually in AI Center. Now, uh, for the what are the contents of main.py, right? So for main.py, you should have a main class, and of course you have the constructor here, right? Which you can put something, let's say initializing the project details, the save path, the model, and all of those. As long as you have the this constructor and then the main class, so this should be good, right? As far as the method goes, you can have any number of helper methods. So these are the helper methods that I have. But the main or mandatory method within the class that you need in order to do the prediction is the predict method. Again, you have to have a main class, and that within that main class you have your constructor, and that within that main class as well you need to have the predict. So in this example, what my predict method does is first is determines if the input file that I have is a video, otherwise it's an image. So it will call my helper methods to predict image. It opens the image and then do the predict, right? So if you look at the previous implementations of YOLO, so this is the now the YOLO SDK, right? I'm calling the YOLO SDK YOLO V8 SDK, and I'm specifying this as my weight, the pre-trained weights with the common objects. This is literally a one-liner. Previously, if you look at YOLO V3 or the previous versions, there are a couple of things that you need to do in order to infer and call the model that you've downloaded. You need to download it first and all those prerequisites. But in this case, YOLO V8, this is literally how you would do it. This is, let's say you just initialize the model, it will auto download. If it's not there, you can specify here custom model. In order to predict, you just provide the source file, and then if you want to show it uh, on your demo environment, you can show us true, and there are other parameters here as well. Source zero means my video camera, but you can also provide the file here, right? So that's how there are three different tasks. One is predict, train, and validation. So, and it's just a matter of calling this from the SDK itself, right? So in this, of course, in this method, I only want to do prediction. So I have my predict image and predict video. So the only difference is I have to rewrite the video in a file because it will be served in a server. If it's an image, I can open it since I will I'm pushing from the activity. It's pushing the byte array, right? But for video, I have to generate host file, right? Host video file, and then it will run the prediction. Okay. So after predicting the video or image, it will count the classes, right? This is a helper method as well. Count classes. It will just count the bounding box, and it has the class names within it. And after that, it will get the output file. So it will generate an output file somewhere in the folder where the model is hosted or where the model is run. And then I'm just getting the byte array of that because I cannot feed the actual file as an output, because as you can see, so this is the output of this file is a JSON, right? So the JSON contains the byte array, right? The different elements I want to output. Um, and then for the input, you can input whether a list of files or JSON string. Okay. Hope I'm still here. I'm still here, right? Pradeep?
Yep.
So yeah, so once you have that, get Viterate, and this is where I build the output JSON, and this is the output of the ML skill from once I deployed it into AI Center and I use it in Studio, right? So this is the schema of the JSON that I'm outputting on the ML skill, right? So yeah, pretty straightforward. I didn't really. I just used the YOLO V8 SDK and trained
Mm.
my own model weights. And so as long as you have this predict, you could be able to use this in AI Center and use this in Studio once you deployed it as an ML skill. So once all this are done, and class main and predict, right? The next is so now we've covered file and folder structure. We've covered organizing methods and classes. Now is the requirements. Of course, this has different dependencies and requirements. So definitely you need to do. So in order to generate this, so let's say I don't have this. So this is important. So you can what you can do is there's a module called piprex. I think it should be piprex, and then oh, I have somewhere. Should be. So you should be in the environment, your Python environment that you created.
And this could be different if you're using PyCharm. You can get there,
Yeah, you see, so yep, definitely.
but it's primarily what your IDE creates a virtual environment for execution of your Python model. You can find that requirement from that VM.
Probably want to install piprex. Yeah. Anyways, you can as long as you generate this requirements, the text file. So this is one of the important requirements, important things before you can deploy, because this is what AI Center container would install. Otherwise, your model won't run, right? Your mod because it you are referring to is this as dependencies. In my case, it's only two. If you don't have these dependencies on the machine that it is hosted, then the model won't run, right? And then once you are done, um, the next step, as I mentioned previously, is to zip this. And once you zip this, it will create this zip file. And this is important. This has to be the same name as the root folder that you had zipped. If it's AIC dash object dash simple, the zip file should be the same, right? So after that, the next step will be to, of course, log into your UiPath Cloud, and then just go to AI Center, upload your package, your package zip file. You go to, wait, just keep kicking me out. Um, yeah. So you create your own project, um, upload zip file. So the one that Pradeep mentioned previously is out of the box packages, whether it's open source or proprietary from UiPath. In this case, we have created our own model. We have a zip file. We just need to upload that zip file, and just do this. System is too slow. Let's upload that. Name it properly. Demo object detection. Name it anything you want. Provide the description. And input type will be file. As I said, it can be files, or listed files or JSON. And then the output will be JSON. I think you cannot modify the output. And then the language that the version of the Python that you use. And then, yeah, you can create, right? And as you can see here, you can also enable training. But this has another prerequisite. So the last
Yeah.
part of the process that I showed earlier in the deck is training capability. If you want to add training capability, you can just enable this. Um, you have to have another file or another Python file. So let's say this one, objective train. You need this train.py. You need to have at least main.py, requirements.txt, and train.py. And the train.py should have, again, the class name, the constructor, and then the train. In this case, I'm using YOLO V8 SDK, and this is how I train it. And then it moves to the renames the particular file, so it won't overwrite it will overwrite the custom weights that I already have. Right? Uh, yeah, so that this is the only additional thing when you do train.py, when you do when you want to enable training, and you can just click create, and once the packages are created here, it will be validated. And once the packages are created here, you can then go ahead and add this create new ML skill, choose the package that you created, enter the skill name, and then create. It will take a while to create, installing the dependencies, the requirements, spinning up the container, and once it's available, you'll be able to see it here. So yeah, uh, eh, that's pretty much it. That's how you. Of course, there's some prerequisites, or like first off, you should know how to play with Python, right? And in order to do inferencing, create a predict method, how to parse the output, how to put it as a JSON in a JSON format, and all those. As long as you have those prerequisite, I think you can be able to deploy your any type of model that you want into UiPath, whether it includes training or it just does the inferencing. So that's how you will be able to do it.
There is one question, Russell. I think there are two models that you talked about. The first one was a generic one, right? From the that was from the
Oh,
UiPath provided
no, it's
model.
the same. The only difference between the two is this, the weights. So
Okay.
in YOLO, you have, so this is a pre-trained weights, YOLO V8X, and there's like sizes of it. The larger the size, I think this is a small one. I think you have a nano, smaller size than this weight, which are faster
Makes
but
sense.
much less, let's say, accurate. So this is the default weight that are trained with different classes, and this is running on the same code that I deployed, and this is not available out of the box in UiPath, right?
Mhm.
The other one that you saw, the custom object detection, right here, the difference is it uses the retrained weights. So this one,
Yeah.
this
So the weights
light.
are weights. Yeah. So weights, if in case if you're still exploring, weights are kind of just consider them as parameters, right? So they are just parameters. You can tweak your model
yeah.
providing different values of the weights. So it's just like
So yeah,
if you play guitar, how you tune your guitar. So it's just like that, tuning
yeah,
your model uh, for to match that specific use case that you're
yeah.
trying to work on.
So basically, what I did is I run the training. I run the so first is I labeled my data set, my custom data set, using this RoboFlow. So then RoboFlow um, generated a data set for me to train my model, right? So now that I have a data set after labeling, right? Um, I run model that train using the that data set from RoboFlow that is like labeled data set, and then it generated this weights for me, that PT, which as Pradeep mentioned, this is a transfer learning type of technology where you have the base model. You're not really retraining all the different weights in the previous layers. You're just fine tuning the topmost layer of the neural network so that it will be able to output what you have labeled or what you have trained it with the label. So now, instead of outputting 100 classes or 100 different objects, it can only output the custom objects that you've trained it with. And this is saved in this. You can also consider this as a checkpoint in the model that you fine tune. Um, it's saving. This is a large file actually. This retrained weights. So this is the largest file right here because this is the where the different so it's the 133 MB because this is the output of the training.
Okay. Thank you for that, Russell. That was really very comprehensive walkthrough of a particular use case that you went through, and I hope that helped our participants today to learn and understand. And don't go into that. Don't get bogged down by the complexity of a particular model. Right? You can start with a very basic, simple model that you can create. There are multiple ways to do it. You can either create from fresh, or you can use some tools like AutoML, right, to create your model. You don't have to even create it. You just provide data set and it can help you build that model, but it will help you get started from there. Once you have that, you can deploy and you can follow the process that Russell was talking about. I did posted the link for the file structure uh, user guide that you can follow along, how you have to structure your folder with all the files, whether it's main.py or requirements, or for trainable models for train.py file. So those things you can follow along from there, and I hope that helped you all. Are there any questions? We are almost at the top of the hour, but I can stay here for a few more minutes if anyone has any questions. All right. Uh, it doesn't mean that if you don't have a question, you can always reach out to us later on. And thank you for staying with us and being part of this session. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll come back with more sessions again. Stay tuned, and happy automation.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for the
Thank you.
bye.